This week in the unofficial N8n podcast, we talk about the new N8n features that were just released, including sticky notes, Jmespath, custom authentication for HTTP requests, as well as node versioning and the new Markdown Node. Welcome to the show. Let's get started. This podcast is brought to you by AZ Technology Solutions. AZ Technology is the web design company that Alex and I run. We both work full-time jobs, however, so we aren't taking any new business at the moment. However, you can visit aztechsoul.com/N8n for more information about us and the show. You can also view all the show notes and listen to all the episodes in one place. You could also find us on Spotify or wherever you consume your podcasts. Just a quick disclosure, while we feature N8n in our podcast name, we are in no way affiliated with N8n. We are part-time automation enthusiasts who enjoy building automations on the N8n platform. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of Angel and Alex, and do not necessarily reflect the views of N8n.io, its affiliates, or its employees. Hello, and welcome to the unofficial N8n podcast. I'm your friend and your host, Angel. We have a great show for you today. Unfortunately, Alex was unable to make it, so this episode will just be a solo episode with just me today. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to go ahead and jump right into it. So since we last talked, the last time we had chatted, version 0.172 had just been released. We had talked a little bit about multi-user mode on N8n. So this week, we're going to be talking about a few more features, or this month, I should say, we're going to be talking about a few more features that were released that I find quite interesting, very useful. Let's start with the sticky notes. So, where do I start with sticky notes? I really think they're a great feature. They are very useful. You're able to kind of annotate your notes, or annotate your workflows, rather. However, it's been rare that I find myself using them. I still find myself using the no operation node, because with that I'm able to, as part of my flow, kind of notate out and comment what I'm doing. But it's rare, unless I have really giant workflows, that I would even need something like the sticky notes. So I think it's, I did try them. I took one of my giant workflows and I did go ahead and load the sticky notes on them, and the things that I found were this: it does help you visually delimit your workflow into chunks, so you can basically push people's attention to certain parts of the workflow, which is useful. Some of the things that I didn't like were, I wish we could change the color of the comments. So in case you wanted to put a comment on a comment, for example, right? So for example, I was using it as a background for all my workflow nodes, and it would have been nice to have different sections that were different colors to highlight some of the differences. The other thing, you're not really able to select what order the sticky notes are displayed in. So if you think of them as a stack, you can't really control what is the output of that stack, or I'm sorry, what are the layers of that stack. So that would have been somewhat useful. So that's essentially my thoughts on sticky notes. I think they're great. Anything to help with the documentation side is a great thing. I just, it's not something that I find myself every day just kind of jumping to. It's one of those things that it's like, okay, it's nice to have, and I'm sure in the future I'll find a way to use them more. But for now, it's pretty rare. And since I think the desktop versions just started supporting them, which is what I typically tend to use on my day-to-day. So it's not something that that I would see a huge amount of use for right now, but hopefully in the future. Now let's move on to Jmespath. Jmespath was added somewhat recently. I didn't get a chance to add it. Sticky notes were added in 0.174. Jmespath was around that time, if I remember correctly. So this is something I've actually requested on the forum, and I'm actually really excited. So I was a little frustrated at first, because at first I thought it was something that you could only utilize in the function node, but later I came to realize that no, you can actually utilize this in any of the in the expression editor, so in editing any node, which has been really useful. I haven't used it as much as I thought I would. It's been a while since I've used Jmespath, and I need to kind of get back into it. But there are so many things you can do with it. One of my jobs that I've worked at, it was kind of a joke that Jmespath is the answer to everything, especially JSON related. So so it's nice to have. It is still a little bit difficult to use. I really wish the expression editor had some kind of toolbar of some kind where you could select functions like Jmespath to quickly select, put those into the correct formatting into the expression editor. Maybe one day. We'll see. So the other thing that I thought strange is in other no-code, low-code solutions that I've used, Jmespath was its own node. Since it's a function that people, or at least that myself, I kind of come to be used to seeing it kind of on its own. So it's kind of weird for me to think, oh, okay, I can use this anywhere, including the set node. So that's something that was a little strange for me, but I'm looking forward to using it regardless. Another feature that was released in 0.178, I'm not really going in any particular order here, just in the order that I've just kind of been talking or working with these. I'm really excited for custom auth. I haven't used it much yet, but I use custom authentication on, I use the HTTP request node quite a bit. So I'm really excited to see, how I can utilize this more often, essentially being able to come in, for a good example for me, I think is going to be the Slack node, for example. The Slack node in N8n does not support search yet, but however, you can just use the HTTP request node to do it. But I've been using one of the generic authenticators to authenticate my Slack node. I'm looking forward to trying this out and utilizing the actual Slack authentication. So once I get a chance to try that out, I'll definitely let you guys know what I think and go from there. Next up, node versioning. That's something that I don't create nodes, unfortunately. Maybe one day it is something I aspire to do, but currently it's not something I do. So there's not much I can do with that, but I'm excited at what it means, which, I think it's the community, the ability for you to upload your own nodes to the community. Really excited about that. Now, last but not least, I saved this, probably one of my favorite nodes now, or not favorite, but one of the most excited about nodes that I haven't been this excited about a node in a long time. So the Markdown node, released in 0.173, I think is an awesome and very useful tool. So essentially what it allows us to do is it allows us to take an output of some kind, right? So for myself, I'm going to probably use this a lot in parsing emails, because I can't tell you how many times I have to use the HTML extract to parse out an email, when really I'm just trying to transfer that email somewhere else that doesn't support HTML. So I'm really excited about utilizing the Markdown node to essentially help with that transition. I've already used it in 2 of my builds. I have a build that alerts me when a new version of N8n comes out. That alert comes in as HTML, and so I'm using the Markdown node to essentially translate that HTML into Markdown that I then push out into Slack. Now, that actually leads to my one complaint with it, which is essentially, it's one of the downsides that I found with it, which is the output uses a particular flavor of Markdown, and we aren't able to select what flavor we want to use. For example, the Slack node, the way the links are formatted, they use the HTML symbol, so it's the less than symbol, the URL, a pipe to differentiate, and then the text that you want, and then the greater than symbol to close it out. So the output, however, from the Markdown node takes your links and it puts them in, if I'm not mistaken, it's the bracket. It does the text, close bracket, parentheses, link, and then close parentheses. So this isn't a huge issue. You can use something like the set node with regex to essentially pull out the link values and substitute so that you're able to essentially change it to what you're looking for. But again, it's something that it's somewhat tedious, and it's something that I wish that you were able to select so that the output's a little bit more useful. However, I'm not going to complain. I'm still really excited about that this exists. It makes my life so much easier, because many times, whether you're scraping a web page or getting an email, the output is going to be in HTML, and you're going to probably need to get it somewhere else where HTML might not be supported. So very useful node, very excited about it. So yeah, and that's essentially it as far as for changes that have come out from N8n. I do want to encourage you, if you haven't had a chance to visit one of the community meetups for N8n, I definitely recommend it. I got a chance to speak at one of the last ones, and I was really excited. It was really great fun. There was a lot of people in the meeting, I think around 42, and they just had some wonderful questions. So it's a great community. Definitely recommend it. If you get a chance to attend one, I think you'll definitely enjoy it. Otherwise, that's essentially it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I'm looking forward to the next one. Hopefully we'll get these out a little bit quicker. Also, if you want to keep up to with the latest version of N8n, you can visit our Twitter feed, twitter.com/aztexel. There, anytime a new version is released, we'll do a little post about it. Anyway, hope you have a great day, and take care.